This tool, it's older than civilizations. It's older than wooden plows, older than the shovel, older than written language. This is called the dibble, or dibbler. At its core, a dibble is just a planting stick, pointed tool used to open small holes in the soil so seeds could be planted directly into the ground. What's interesting is it solves problems modern gardening still struggle with. If you want to plant a seed, the most efficient thing you can do is disturb only the amount of soil you actually need to disturb. A lot of modern gardening works the opposite way. We till up entire sections of ground, flip over huge areas of soil, break apart the surface, and then we smooth it all back out again. Every time you disturb soil, you lose something. Moisture escapes, soil structure breaks apart, microbial life gets disrupted, dormant weeds, them seeds are brought to the surface. So modern gardening spends a lot of time solving problems caused by earlier disturbance. The dibbler avoids a lot of that. Minimal energy, minimal disturbance, minimal complexity. And it's interesting. Modern gardens, they keep rediscovering these ideas. No-till gardening, low-disturbance planting, moisture retention, targeted seed placement. I think modern life trains us to assume newer automatically means better. But sometimes newer just means bigger, more complicated, more dependent on energy. And every now and then, you run into an older technology that quietly reminds us there's another way to do things. The dibbler is one of those tools. One of the oldest inventions of man was a simple digging stick. Primitive hunter-gatherers, they'd just find them a stick and they could pry up some roots. And that evolved into something a little bit more complicated. Ends up the very old name, the dibble, or dibbler. Used to be, dibbler was a person using the stick and the dibble was the tool. But they kind of mushed the words together, and now dibble and dibbler sort of mean the same thing. What set me down this rabbit hole, have 18 years of experience in research and development. And a lot of times we look at the past and what they used, and we take that, make a few tweaks, and that's our future. But I got thinking, man, I always try and integrate chickens and crops, and it works in the food forest. I can get some pretty good results with chickens in a food forest. But in your vegetables, that's a different story. So I got thinking about some of these ancient peoples. How did they do it? They had deer, there was quail, there was turkeys. We had all kinds of animals trying to get their crops, and yet people fed villages, complete villages and families. They produced a lot. So I get researching a little. Simple dibblers. Just a sharpened stick. It developed all over the world. Everywhere people went, they independently developed dibblers. And this little tool I'm using as a bit of an experiment this year to outsmart my chickens in the vegetable patch. You see, I built some nice waffle garden type things, kind of a research and development project on its own. I did it a little bit bigger and bigger squares than they do in a lot of the recommended videos and literature you'll see. But them waffles, so it's sunken in about 3-foot patches. The Three Sisters is a pretty cool thing, but it doesn't completely work here because a mound dries out faster than just flat earth. But if I dig down about a foot, put my vegetables in there, any rain that comes should collect down in those sunken waffles. And that's all great, fine. I mended it with a bunch of manure and stuff and organics last year. And some of my birds that are good flyers, the fence is nothing, they're just over it. And they was digging up my crops. I had to plant twice in those waffle beds last year. But I know from experience, if I get it right, I'm gonna have a bumper crop with the integration of those chickens. But just how can I defeat them? How can I outsmart a chicken? Really, that doesn't sound very good. You know, a man trying to outsmart a chicken, but it's the way it is. They're bred just the way I intended them to be, semi-wild, feral chickens that grub around and find much of their own diet. So, back to my waffles. They're full of weeds and leaves and debris. I got thinking, those ancient peoples, with all the competition from the wildlife, how did they do it? They come up with one possible solution. Perhaps with their dibbles, they just took and opened up a hole, dropped in a simple seed, covered it back up. Nothing would even know it was there. A little moisture comes and the plants begin to come up. Now they have a chance. Now, I thought I'm gonna leave the weeds, because that being all bare, that's a perfect place for hens to go dig and look around. So those weeds, they're going to create a barrier and camouflage from these smart grubbing hens. As those seedlings begin to come up, I'm going to just kind of watch the weeds. I'll take out a few, give that plant room to grow. And as it's a Three Sisters approach, we'll have some peas and corn and squash all in these little patches. And we'll just pull out weeds as our little seedlings grow out. It's just an experiment. See how it works. Maybe it fails. I think likely not. Even when the hens have grubbed out traditional way of gardening, I still get a little, so it won't be a complete flop, but it could be a huge success. And it could be a way that smaller gardens begin to reinvent agriculture. I don't see many people using the dibble these days, but it's still a really good tool. It has a good place in your food forests, your homesteads, even tiny backyards. The dibble has a place. Really is wonderful to use. And you can make your own. Really pretty simple. Found a nice stick, cleaned it up a bit so it was smooth and wouldn't get splinters in my hand. Put a little clear wood finish on it. Should last me years. Now the ancients, a lot of times they would kind of char the end of their stick, and that would temper and harden it just a little bit. I've chose not to do it on this one, and I've been using it quite a bit and it's holding up just fine. You do want to make it a nice wedge, and really kind of a diamond is even better. You know, kind of a flat blade screwdriver look. Modern gardens, you know, they have us plowing everything smooth and leveling out the ground and then planting fresh. But we're disturbing microbes, valuable things in the soil. Very minimal disturbance with a dibble. Moments from now, nobody knows you was there. This is actually super labor efficient for small growers. People like me and maybe even you. That's the way the ancients did it. They didn't have them tractors and plows and in the Americas, they didn't even have beasts of burden. So it was all done by hand. A lot of times they'd have a long, full-size stick. Jab it in, wiggle it a little bit, drop a seed. Didn't even have to be super close, and then you kick it in with your foot. Cover a little dirt over it, next hole. They found in dry caves and bogs that preserve wood for centuries, ancient dibblers. Some had horn tips attached for a harder, stronger dig. Some would find kind of a branch stick, or even put a cross stick so they could use a foot assist like you would a shovel or something to dibble in that hole. This is technology worth keeping around. Oldest on record. This just might have been the very first agricultural tool. Well, I thank you folks for watching. Glad you joined in and seen what I'm up to. You know, I'm always up to something new, and I think I got some good stuff for you coming up. So appreciate you. Check back in on me sometime.